Welcome to the jungle. I'm your host, Andy Garza, President and CEO of Big Gorilla Sales and Marketing Training. Here in the Jungle podcast for all the hungry entrepreneurs, you'll hear firsthand experiences from business owners of how they overcame challenges on their road to success. Every week, we'll have a different business owner from every walk of life. If you want to learn more about guerrilla marketing, visit biggorillamarketing.com. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Big Gorilla Marketing. Welcome to this week's episode of The Jungle for Hungry Entrepreneurs. And today we've got a guest co-host, Allison Anna. You've seen her before. Welcome, Anna. It's good to have you always. By the way, I'm Andy Garza from Big Gorilla Sales and Marketing Training. But all right, I want to talk about networking. Now, we've touched about it just a little bit in the past, but I really want to get into it, some of the finer points of what networking is all about and why we would even do that. Especially if you're starting out in a business, a startup business, it's real important that you do some networking for a lot of different reasons. But some of the biggest reasons to do it is obviously you're going to meet some people, but there's an art to it. There's an absolute art to networking. There's a wrong way to do it, and there's a right way to do it. And we want to make sure we mention those, what are those finer points. But it starts with, the reasoning why you would network. And meeting other professions is a huge thing, because you never know what profession can actually help you in the future. If you're a one-man show right now, and you're building a business, you're going to need a lot of different professionals. You're going to need accountants, marketing people, warehouse, whatever your business is. There's a lot of different professionals that you're going to need to build your business. And how better to meet them is face-to-face, doing networking in different network events that are in every city. So, and especially in Michiana, there's a lot of different networking groups around, and whether it's chamber, whether it's business networking international, or private networking groups that are around, rotaries, clubs. Those are networking events, and then you have just just opportunities arise everywhere. And when you first get to starting to network and you're getting yourself out there, it's important to know some of the basics. For one, it's along the lines of how do you win friends or get friends and win whatever it is. How do you get people to like you? And that's so important. And the quickest way to do that is ask them about yourself, their selves. And the more you ask them, the more they know that you're interested in them, because people love to talk about themselves. I don't know if you found that out, but you ask a few questions, they'll babble on for an hour. But if you keep asking questions, it's always good, because you can find out information, and maybe that stuff is useful to you too. What they do, how they do it, where they do it, and why they do it. All those are important to find out first. Give that to them. Give them the opportunity to talk about themselves before you start talking about yourself. You'll get a lot more people liking you if you ask about yourself. What are your experiences on that? Have you had any?
Yeah. So I look at this kind of the same way that I do my sales process as well with my clients. And I don't want to join the two together directly, sales and networking, because when you are networking, you should not come at it with a mindset of selling someone anything. That's like the number one no with networking, is you don't want to do that, because you'll automatically turn people off. I've found in my experience, and watching other people do it as well. But really what I mean by that is, in my sales process, I'm very curious with my ideal clients. I like to know their problems. I like to know what they do. I like to know about their business to see if it's a good fit or not. And it's the same thing the same mindset I bring to networking as well, is just being curious. And really in that moment, not thinking about what am I going to get, or how could this person possibly help me down the road, or even, not even thinking about how you can help them yet, just being curious and living in that moment with them to get to know them more. And so in BNI, the world's largest referral networking organization, they teach this. And so it's to know, like, and trust people. That's the point of marketing, or sorry, networking. And that's really how you grow from it. That's how you grow yourself. That's how you grow your business, is just forming these relationships where you know, like, and trust each other. And so in the beginning, that takes, bringing your barrier down, getting the other person to bring their barrier down by asking about them and just having a conversation and not selling to them. And so, yeah, just, getting to know, like, and trust people is really the basis of networking, in my opinion, and how it's worked so well for me.
Yeah, if you go into it, just say, I just want a conversation and learn as much as I can about people, and kind of forget about what you do and trying to shove that down anybody's throat. Just say, I want to learn about 10 people today. And because some people go into network and say, okay, I'm going to go there and collect as many business cards as I can, and that'll be a successful networking. No, it's not. It's not about collecting cards. It's about learning about people and really genuinely interested in what they do and the ins and outs of how they came about doing this and how long they've been doing this. It's just so important to really be genuine in finding out and asking questions. And because if you're just waiting for them to stop talking so you can interject something else, or that doesn't work too well, because that means you're not listening too well. You're just listening enough to see when I can butt in and say something. I've had conversations, and believe me, it's an art. I didn't start out this way. I mean, I had to learn how to network. Um, but I've had conversations that were 10, 15 minutes long, and I have yet to even introduce myself and my business. And I just kept firing questions about their business and what they do. And I mean, it's amazing how their face lights up, whoever you're talking to, when you're asking questions about them, instead of babbling about what you do. You'll get your opportunity. And sometimes right after the last end, oh, by the way, here's what I do. But that's after a 15-minute conversation's gone by. It's helped me really understand that it's about finding out and getting on the good side of people.
Yeah, you know what, Andy, I have a great example, and it's actually the first time that we met, you and I. I walked into my first BNI meeting, and you were having one-to-one with someone out in the lobby. You were finishing up, and right away you said, "Hey, what's your name?" "I'm Andy Garza." Introduce yourself. And I was a little nervous because it's my first BNI meeting all together, the room of business owners, as a new business owner. And I sit down, and you start asking me questions about my business, and you start asking me, what do you do? Who do you help? Things like that. And initially I didn't know, because I'm kind of new to the larger marketing and networking world. I didn't know what your intentions were in the beginning, right? And I think that's kind of how we feel when we start a conversation with anybody. You're kind of sizing them up. Okay, what's your point here? What are you trying to do? You trying to get info to sell me something? And after, I'd say, the first few questions in the back and forth, I felt comfortable as in, okay, we're just getting to know each other right here, and this could be a great connection. And you're in marketing, I'm in marketing, in a sense. So when you meet people in the same industry, you also kind of think, is this my competitor? Are they trying to, compete against me? And so just the flow of conversation that we had, and just getting to know each other, immediately brought down those barriers and let me know that we can possibly work together and help each other in the future. And we're not going to be, competing with each other.
Yeah, so true. And I remember that day. It's been a while. It was a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
But it was just my nature right now is I'm generally interested in what people do, and why were they there, what brought them there, and what kind of business they're into, that type thing. Because I know, and it took me a while to learn it, the value of knowing that information about people, what they're all about. Because and then not so much later, after we met, we are collaborating on things. And Allison's a major part of my magazine, the production of it and the marketing of it. So I mean, we actually, that conversation led to all that we have done together, and we've collaborated on other businesses too. And so You know, being genuine, I think, is the biggest takeaway from this is about what your intent is, you know, just to find out about them. Um, you know, when you get into networking and you get into a proper mindset of, hey, I want to find out about people, instead of I want everybody to know about me. Believe me, if you're doing it right, they'll know about you. I mean, if you have the same intent at every networking group, you'll start seeing some of the same people that you've seen at each networking event that you go to or are part of, and you'll find that they're going to start recognizing you, but they're going to be interested in you only if you came off as interested in them first. If you had no interest in them and you just want to babble about your own business and pass out your business cards, it's not going to be a memorable event for the other people, and they're not likely to seek you out if they know all you're going to do is shove a business card down their throat and talk about yourself. So it's all about getting people to like you, and that's how it starts. You get them to want to talk to you.
Yeah, and that's why the elevator pitches are so short, and that's why they should be, because as you were talking there, I was thinking about, letting your successes speak for themselves. So people will know what you do based on the work that you do, and that's how it should be. You shouldn't be upfront. I've had all these accomplishments, yada, yada, yada. Well, no one wants to hear that from you. They want to see it and they want to find it out through results. And that's the best way to, let your business show for itself.
Yeah. And one of the other points about networking is when you're actually networking, and there's certain things that you can do when you're networking, and let's say you have collected a few business cards after some really good conversations and you exchange cards, that type of thing. Um, it's the follow-up. When you follow up, meaning after the networking, what do you do? You just don't let things be. I always kind of took notes on the back of their card after I had, after the conversation was done. I'd have their card and then I go and say, okay, there was one or two points that about that conversation that stood out. I would take notes and put it on the back of the card. And then so I could remember them. And then the following night or the next day, I would grab some of the cards that I had. And when the conversations were fresh in my mind, including the notes on the back of the cards, and I would shoot them hey, it was a pleasure meeting you yesterday, or whatever the case was. Um, and and maybe even mention one of those points, uh, that you had made on the back of the card, just to kind of tell them that you were listening to them, and not just who their name was, but something about their conversation that stuck out. Um, and you actually thank them for the opportunity to speak with them, and maybe in the future we could get together and talk a little bit more on how we can help each other. It's just a follow-up. That means you valued their time, their 5 or 10 or 15 minutes with you. You valued their time enough to thank them the next day for the opportunity and the pleasure of meeting them. So I always like to do the follow-up, and not just let those conversations, those new people that you've met, just, go away. Because you never know. Some of them may say, have a email back to you and say, yeah, it was great meeting you too. I think we should get together. I got opening next week and we can talk more. And good friendships and good relationships are started that way. So a follow-up is one of those things that I always really consciously tried to be as good as I could at, because it did pay off. I've actually got some really good connections that way.
Yeah, and I never had time to follow up in the beginning as I'm, learning the art of networking. And I wanted to follow up. I had great intentions to do so, but I was always so busy. I'm growing a business. I was at the point where I needed to hire people. So if you're one of those people that's really busy and you have no time for following up with people.
Now for a quick break to thank our sponsors: Awaken Marketing, Awaken New Possibilities, Griner Law Group, Small Business Showcase Magazine, celebrating the small business spirit, M&D Advertising, Creations Beyond Expectations, and Big Gorilla Sales and Marketing Training, bringing out your inner gorilla.
So if you're one of those people that's really busy and you have no time for following up with people, and you need need to grow, if you need ways to grow, and networking is one of them, hire someone to do the admin stuff and do that for you, because I just hired an admin assistant a couple months ago, and it's been a game changer for me. I no longer have that excuse that I don't have time, because that's an easy task that you can delegate. Even having someone go and put all of those names, phone numbers, and notes into a spreadsheet, so that you can go and pull that up and say, oh, what is Joe Smith do? What notes did I have for him? The next time that he reaches out and maybe follows up with you. So, yeah, I'm all about systems and structures. And if something's not working and you can't do this part, like me, I was guilty of it for a whole year. There's a way to do it, and there's a system. And also just, the work that we've done together, Andy, had neither one of us followed up with each other and had that one-to-one a week or two later, none of this would have happened. So that's just a testimony as well, networking.
Yeah, absolutely. Networking is an essential part of growing a business. Whether you're familiar with networking or not, but believe me, there's a lot of different groups that you can go on the internet and just look for local networking groups, and several of them will pop up. And then you always got the BNI, the Business Networking International. Then you have the chamber. Every city's got every major city's got a chamber of commerce, and they always have networking events after hours, before hours, that type of thing. I try to go to anything that I could possibly meet somebody that I don't know. And a lot of times there's a lot of people that were at all the events like I was. And that's when it starts to get really fun, because then you start bumping into people. And you challenge yourself to remember their name. I'm not very good at remembering names off the top of my head. But they remember mine. I don't know
You
why.
gotta say them 3 times. If you
Yeah.
say them 3 times right away, you have a much higher percentage of remembering.
Yeah,
I'm terrible at it.
yeah. That's one of the things I got to be working on. And I've been networking for a long time, probably 15 years is when I really started networking. And
You've had a lot of time to work on that. Andy.
yeah, no, I just can't get it down. I don't know what it is. But networking is a way to learn about other industries, which is always fascinating to me. Not just the person, but the industry that they're in. I mean, I love the conversations where I had no idea that job even existed, that type of thing. And they just, and it spurs on question after question for me. But it's so fun listening and learning about different industries and what people's jobs are that a lot of times that you've never even heard of. And that's just so exciting to me. It's exciting for me to actually meet people that in industries that I have no idea that they even existed.
Yeah.
It's not just that.
And if you're in business to business, this makes a little more sense, but it makes sense everywhere. If you're networking with people in industries that you don't normally work with, like when I first started BNI, a lot of people wanted to meet with me, and I wanted to meet with a lot of people too. But some of them initially, I thought, okay, I'm meeting with home builders and people in all these different industries that I'm not currently working with. And initially, you could think, well, this is kind of a waste of time. But you never know what one interaction is going to do to your entire network. So, for example, say I'm meeting with somebody who, builds homes, and that's the one example I can think of right now. And I don't work with those kinds of clients right now, those kinds of businesses. But maybe they need, marketing somewhere else in their business or for another business. Or maybe they had, 3 people ask them in the last 2 weeks who could do marketing for them, and they're my ideal clients. So you never know how you can grow your network larger from meeting someone that would be an unexpected source of clients or leads for you. But you also still have to always come at that connection with the giver's gain. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Andy.
The giver's gain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It always feels really good when you can actually make a referral to somebody that you just met. Say, you know what, I do know somebody that, matter of fact, needs your services. And let me get them hooked up with you. Let me get your information, and I'll send out the information to that person. Let them know that I'm doing this so they can expect a phone call or that type of thing. And it feels so good to say, yeah, I actually helped somebody connect. And everything's about connections. And you never know where that connection is going to be when you network. and where it's going to come from. And all of a sudden somebody's, you know, it happened to me when I was doing my seminars on guerrilla marketing for small businesses, and somebody had went to the event, and they didn't actually act on so much of it, but they referred me to a doctor at Notre Dame that headed the entrepreneur program. And there's a ton of people that go through this program, and they teach in basically women, but anybody, about becoming, you know, their own business owner. And he had heard from somebody who came to my seminar, and he ended up calling me and hiring me to teach at Notre Dame. So it's like, wow, where did that come from? You just never know what connection is going to be made there. So the more you impress on the person that you're talking to, that you're generally interested in them, uh, the more that they're going to more likely to reciprocate and give you some type of referral or talk about you at least. So it's amazing how certain connections are made that you just cannot see coming, and they end up sometimes changing your career, your life, you know, your trajectory of your business. And that to me is exciting, because it's happened to me over and over again, to where I've met people and just out of, you know, and it couldn't be, it's not weeks after, sometimes it's a couple of years after. And all of a sudden, oh, this person had talked to you about it. Now I need to talk to you myself. You know, it's been a couple of years and things change in their lives, and they need your services or your product or whatever the case is. So
Yep.
that's always exciting to me.
And giver's gain to me really just means that, you know, I was explaining this earlier, if I come up to somebody and I'm only looking at what I can gain and not what I can give, then immediately I'm talking about myself, I'm talking about my business, sounds like I'm pitching something. So someone's either going to think that I'm selling them something or I'm conceited, you know. But if I talk about what I want to get, maybe I'm asking questions first, so you start asking questions, being curious, you get the information about them, and I'm looking specifically for what I can give first, then that person automatically is going to want to talk to me the next day because they've already gotten value from our interaction. And then once I give them, you know, value, referrals, connecting them with somebody that could help them along their journey, they're going to be more apt to then give to me in the future and know, like, and trust from that relationship. So that's really what it means to me, is you give to get, you know, you give in that relationship first, and then it's reciprocated, and it's almost like a mutual agreement. Personally, for me, I've made so many of those with people, where I send people to you when I know that they need your service, and you send it to me when you know that they need my service and you can't do that part, and vice versa. So it's great.
That reminds me, years ago, when this is probably 30 years ago, about the givers. And I didn't know about, and as a matter of fact, it was probably about the time they started BNI, but I knew nothing about BNI until about 15 years ago. Anyways, the giver's gain. I actually used that philosophy when I took over a store in Chicago. I was in flooring management, and I was like their golden boy. So they put me in every troubled store to turn it around. But I remember going into a store that the entire store, I had 15 salespeople, 6 warehousemen, 20 different crews for installation. Every one of them hated me and my company because they were treated so badly. So I had to go into a cesspool of people and try to turn them around. And how do you do that? You give.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I made them a promise. I made my salespeople a promise. I said, I know you guys have been struggling here. I can tell why. You don't have a good product mix here. You got all the low commission products on the floor instead of the high commission stuff. And it's just a matter of making a few phone calls, that type of thing, but it takes a lot of effort. And I just told them, I said, I promise you, I'm going to get everything in here and the store in shape so it's conducive to you making money. Because when you make money, we all make money. And then I said, after I do that, and only after I do that, I'll ask you to learn the way that I do it, and I'll teach you everything I know about selling, and we'll turn the store around. Within 2 months, we were the leading store in the company of 433 stores. we went from being near the last to the #1 company. Because I turned these people around and I gave them something first. And when they saw I put my money where my mouth is and got all these things in and say, here, see guys, let's go to town. Let's start selling. I give you all the tools and all the product that you need that are going to pay you the top commissions. Let's go to town. And they did. And then I told them, now you're going to do it my way. And of course, when they follow that to a T, and I gave them no choice, I said, you're going to do it my way to the T. And anybody who's not interested in doing that, I'm not interested in having you as an employee. Well, no one quit, and I didn't have to fire anybody because they all followed me because I put my money where my mouth is. I gave them something first, and that works in every situation. And like Allison, when you're meeting people, you give something. That's what your mindset is going in, that you're going to give them something, information, hope, anything you can give them on that could possibly help them now or in the future. That's what your goal should be, your mindset.
And it doesn't have to be big. That's a great
Yeah.
point. Like, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. You don't have to waste your time or money. It could be a super small thing in that short interaction.
Yeah. So, networking has been wonderful for me, and Allison has already attested it's been wonderful for her. And I knew nothing about it 15 years ago when I was in basically my prime. I was over 50 years old 15 years ago. So I knew nothing about networking, and I was introduced by a guy that ran a print shop, and I needed something printed, some signs, because I was designing a taxi top. And he helped me with that, and then he introduced me, hey, you should take this and network in place, that I network at. It's called BNI, Business Networking International, and that's how I got started with it. And then once I, excuse me, once I started learning about all what is available to me in the networking, it became very exciting to me. And then every business after that I've had, I've always put myself in a situation where I'm attending networking groups, going to different functions, anything I could get a hold of, and I still do that.
Too.
Yeah.
My mom goes to these craft shows where there's a ton of small businesses, and I go there and I network. And the way that I network is not giving my business card out and making a forward networking approach. It's, hey, what do you do? And if there's something relatable in my life, I usually choose people that are more in alignment with what I'm doing and my goals and my purpose. Then I'll talk about my goals and my purpose before I even talk about my business. But that's just a way that you can network anywhere you go. Sometimes it can be at your kids' sports games. Sometimes handing out your card may help someone down the line too. And I've had random strangers ask me what I do, and ask for my card in public. So you never know when there's an opportunity out there to network, but you always have to come at it with that giver's game first.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been some good stuff, Allison. I hope you guys out there have got some good information and realize the importance of networking and treating networking as a part of your business. And you want to get good at it, because the better you are and the better mindset you have, it'll pay off. There's unquestioned that it'll pay off for you. So, but that's all we have for this episode. Like to thank Allison again for being a guest co-host, and it's always been fun. And we'll talk to you next time.
If you want to learn more about guerrilla marketing, visit biggorillamarketing.com. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Big Guerrilla Marketing. To thank our sponsors: Awaken Marketing, Awaken New Possibilities, Griner Law Group, Small Business Showcase Magazine, celebrating the small business spirit, M&D Advertising, Creations Beyond Expectations, and Big Gorilla Sales and Marketing Training, bringing out your inner gorilla.